Whoa, that can't be good. All right, it's pretty obvious we have something going on with the suspension here. Probably have a cracked coil spring. Now you may think you can just replace the coil spring and you're good to go, but that's not always the case. We got our new spring and shock assembly from 1A Auto, and we're gonna be replacing these in pairs. Otherwise, you're gonna have some drivability issues or even some height adjustment issues. With the old shock and strut on the other side, it's gonna sag a little bit, and that's gonna cause some alignment issues and even some tire wear. So it's always a great idea to replace them in pairs. It's pretty obvious now that we're in here that we have a broken spring. This should not be separated like this. It does not have two springs on top of each other. It should just be one spring all the way up, all the way down. Now, whenever you're dealing with broken coil springs or coil springs in general, you want to be careful. There is a lot of tension on the springs, so if one could potentially be broken, you don't necessarily want to just grab it and give it a wiggle. There could be something that you loosen up and you could get hurt. So just be careful, be aware of that. But if you have a spring that's separated like this, it's obviously broken. It's pretty obvious that this needs to be replaced. Sometimes a broken spring isn't this obvious though. You could have two broken springs and the vehicle looks normal just sitting there, when in actuality is your alignment's gonna be off. You're gonna end up wearing tires out faster if you don't replace those springs. So you wanna check those out. You wanna look towards the bottom. Sometimes there's a weak part on the spring itself and that could cause it to crack. Other sensations you're gonna have, you may have some rattling noise when going over bumps, or even a clanging sensation, especially if it's coming from the front of the vehicle, and some binding issues. If you have front struts with a spring over them, you're gonna turn the wheel back and forth. It could be binding up and then almost like releasing when it gets to a certain point. And the last, more obvious symptom is the vehicle sagging to one side or another. So why do springs break? There is a protective coating along the outside of the spring, and one of the reasons why they could break is because that protective coating has been scratched. Some rust will get in there and compromise the integrity of the spring. Eventually, over time, there's a weak spot and it will crack. Another reason why the springs can break is the struts and shocks are not performing up to par. They're not doing their job properly, adding extra stress on the springs, causing weak spots and causing them to break. Some of the symptoms you're gonna find when you have worn or weak shocks or struts are while you're going down the road and you hit a bump. You may notice that the vehicle bounces for an excessive amount of time. You may notice while cornering that the vehicle does not perform up to par. A lot of people don't know that shocks and struts affect your tire wear. You may notice some abnormal tire wear patterns on your vehicle, and that could be due to your shocks or struts. And a visual symptom you can see is a leaking shock or strut. You may notice some fluid on the ground in the area of where the shock or strut is, or even some staining on the body of the shock or strut. In general, springs and shocks work together to make your car ride smoothly, so you want to replace them together. We installed our shocks and struts and now the vehicle is back to normal. It's not sagging anymore and it's gonna ride great. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our videos.